As an animator and a retro technology enthusiast, I was very excited to learn about Art Master and AnimAction for the Vectrex. In fact, the ability to do animation on a vector screen with a light pen was one of the main reasons I wanted to get a Vectrex. However, I wasn't prepared for how limited both of these titles would end up being. You really have to play by their rules instead of letting your imagination run wild. I could see how this could easily be a letdown for people with expectations similar to mine. With Art Master in the animation mode, you can use the light pen to make points and lines to connect them. You can adjust the points after you've made the lines as well. A lot of planning is necessary for making a polished-looking animation because of a few very severe limitations. Perhaps the biggest being that you're only allowed 9 keyframes of animation. So don't expect to make much of a narrative here. Another extreme limitation is the amount of points you're allowed. I believe it's 32. However, I think the number of lines between points has no upper bound. Well, until all the points are connected to each other. I haven't actually tried this. The last very unfortunate limitation is the fact that the number of points and lines cannot vary per frame. They can only be moved around, so no shapes can appear or disappear during the animation. One more annoyance I have is that upon playback, while you can change the speed, which is nice, there's no way to turn off ping-ponging. The animation will always play forwards, then backwards, then forwards, then backwards, etc. AnimAction, while having its own set of limitations, is definitely the more advanced of the two programs. It works by allowing the user to first make sprites and then keyframe their movements. Let's draw a simple sprite. Now, only 29 lines are allowed per sprite, but that seems to be enough for most things that you'd want to make. Now we'll store it in our little sprite library and include it in this little easy access panel up top. From here, we can drag it down onto the scene and start animating it. Besides just X and Y positions, we can also scale, rotate, flip, flop, and change brightness. All of these variables can change between each keyframe, except flipping and flopping, I believe. The changing of brightness is actually a great way to make sprites appear and disappear, a feature we didn't have in Art Master. Another feature absent in Art Master is looping playback without ping-ponging. In AnimAction, there's the option of having it start back at keyframe 1 after running through all the other keyframes. Another very big improvement over Art Master is the number of keyframes that can be used. It's dependent on the number of sprites. With fewer than 4 sprites, you're allowed 28 frames. From 4 to 16, 14 frames. And from 17 to 32, 7 frames. In addition to the sprites, you're also allowed a static background. Anything that you don't plan on moving should be drawn as part of the background. This way, you'll be using fewer sprites, thus increasing your number of keyframes. Personally, while I enjoy AnimAction more, there isn't really a clear winner. Art Master is more fluid when it comes to the polygons you can bend around. AnimAction will always seem more rigid because the sprites, points, and lines cannot be transformed per keyframe. You'll really just have to try out both to decide which is better for your needs.
Oh, dear.
So, to wrap this up, am I happy with my decision to get a Vectrex, Art Master, and AnimAction? The short answer is absolutely. It's really not what I expected, but it's still a lot of fun. It's just so cool to use a light pen and draw lines on a vector screen and then watch them move around. Would I recommend it to fellow animators? Probably not without showing them this video first. I mean, it's really not what the Vectrex was made for. It's a gaming console. And while most of the games have about the same amount of depth as the ones on the Atari 2600, the glow of the vector lines will forever entice me. It's just so cool. And since there is a surprisingly active Vectrex community and homebrew scene, new titles keep popping up. Hopefully someday a better animation program will emerge. But for the time being, I'll just have to tough it out with Art Master and AnimAction.